all the snow that we got last weekend, it's all melted away now, and so I'm going to take advantage of today, the weather that we have today, get back out here in the barnyard and continue to work on creating our barnyard. So what we have is we've got some field fencing, some sheep and goat field fencing, and we're going to try to stretch that around the barn and get that all hung up on the fence to create the barnyard perimeter. Now I've made this bracket here for the tractor, and basically it's got a spinner there that it can the roll can spin. So I think this is going to help hold the roll of fencing and help me, get it unrolled. And that's a 262-pound roll of field fencing. It's 330 feet long. It's very hard for one person to manage. So that's what I've got this bracket made for. Now I've already broke it once. The first day I was driving around and it was just flopping around with the top heavy weight, and it ended up breaking that bracket. So today I've re-welded it, beefed it up a little bit. It needs to be redesigned. It really needs some top support to be able to hold that. So it needs some top bracing. So I'm just going to be gentle with this today and see if I can make it last the day. I'm not real confident that it won't break on me today, but we're going to try to be gentle with it and see if this can help me hold the fence and help me get it unrolled. So on a previous video, we had made these 4-foot fence gates, and you guys had a lot of good suggestions. One of them was I probably should have used a bigger gate. And after rethinking that, I definitely, I think you guys are right. It's a good suggestion. I'm going to take this 4-foot gate, we're going to move it down to the other end to a spot, and then we're going to end up putting 8-foot gates in this section. But the problem is I've already got my fence posts and I've got my bracing already in, right? So so what we're going to do is where this bracing is, it's 8 foot wide, so that's like a perfect spot for a gate. So I'm going to put my gate right here where this bracing is, and I've already set a post over there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to move our bracing over in between these two posts, and then we'll be able to stretch our fence out today, and we'll come back a later day and we'll build an 8-foot gate to go in between these two posts. So before I can really get started today on the fence, I just need to switch a couple of braces over to the next post, and then we'll be ready to start stretching wire. So we got the brace that was in between these two posts here. We got it moved down there. When I set that post, I measured the distance or the length of that brace there, so it worked out pretty good. So I didn't have to, that brace just fit in there perfectly. I didn't have to cut it down or anything. Was able to use the brace wire as well. So basically just shifted the brace over there and retensioned the brace wire. So we're ready to start stretching out this field fencing here. I've never done field fencing before. This is going to be kind of new. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to unroll that reel all the way down here. We're going to get it, we'll try to get it attached and wrapped around and attached securely to this post. And then I think I'm going to have to put in one additional T-post here in between these two braces. And then at the far end, what we're going to do is we're going to clamp the field fencing, and we're going to try to stretch it out so it's all nice and tight all the way across, and then we're going to attach it to the brace on the other end. So this is the shortest run. This is a perfect one. for my first one. So hopefully we'll get this one stretched out and it'll work out pretty good. So we just finished up getting this field fencing on. So this was our first field fencing that we had hung. So this is a learning curve for us, and pretty happy though with the way it turned out. I don't know if you can see this fence, but it's all nice and straight. It's pretty tight. In fact, I think I got it a little too tight maybe. But so we did run into a couple little problems. The first one was it turned out to be way harder than I thought it was going to be to get this wire here on the end. You got to strip it out so that you can wrap it around the post, and then you tie it back to itself. And that ended up being way harder than I thought it was going to be. So when you look here at this wire, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but there's these little kinks here in the wire, and that's how you tell how tight you're getting it tensioned. The tighter you pull that fence, these will flatten out. So all the little kinks in that wire made it hard to be able to slide the wire that's twisted around it. So you got all this wire that's twisted around it, and they don't want to slide off because of all those nice little kinks on there. So that ended up being way more difficult than I thought it was going to be, just to get this first end basically tied to the post, just to basically get started. So I was kind of surprised by that, because I hadn't really seen many people talk about that. And then the other end though, so once you stretch that fence out, those little kinks kind of go away, and the other end was a lot easier to pull those little twisted on wires off. So but that very first post, definitely was way harder than I thought it was going to be. So my second problem probably had more to do with actually tightening the fence properly. So when I went to tighten it, I didn't realize my top wire was not actually, it was crooked in my clamp. So I didn't have it in my clamp nice and straight with the rest of the other wires. And then my top bolt was kind of loose. So this top wire, I was watching it and I kept tightening and tightening, and I was waiting for these wires to try to straighten out. Well, the rest of my fence got really tight, and in fact it got so tight that it actually shifted this whole post about 2 inches. So that whole post ended up moving about 2 inches. So I definitely have it very tight right now. And so lesson learned there. I need to make sure my entire fence is in that clamp to stretch it all nice and even and straight, and I need to make sure all my bolts are tight so that I'm stretching the fence evenly. So that was another problem I had. So then another problem ended up being, when you stretch that out, you stretch it to the other end, you put a staple in every wire, and you pound it down to help hold the tension, so when you cut it off the reel it stays tight, and then you can wrap it around and tie it back to itself. So the problem I had was I stapled it in every staple, but then I missed the one at the bottom of the post, the bottom wire. So then when I cut that bottom wire off, which was my second to last or next to last wire to cut off, that bottom wire lost its tension, and so that ended up being a pain in the butt. I had to kind of retension the wire and stretch that wire back out, and then staple it to the post in a few spots to, you know, make sure it stayed nice and tight, and then basically tie it back to itself. So lesson learned: when you go to cut the wires off, you know, off the reel that you have tensioned, you need to make sure you got it good and stapled tight so that it keeps its tension. But other than that, I think it turned out pretty good. It's just a learning curve. So I think pretty happy with the way this all turned out. So turned out nice and straight, and looks pretty good. So I've got 2 more sections of field fencing that I need to stretch to basically complete the basic barnyard area. And the weather's just not going to cooperate this weekend. It's supposed to rain and snow and sleet, you know, this weekend, and it's going to get real cold by the end of the weekend, so it's just not going to be real nice out here in the pasture to do any fencing. So I think I'll just go ahead and wrap this video up. This video is more about just kind of me putting in field fence for the first time. There's a learning curve there, trying to learn all the little tricks and everything. So I think I understand the process better. I think next time I'll be able to do it quicker. So we'll come back in another video and we'll put the rest of this field fencing in, and hopefully it'll go. I can get it all, the rest of that, in one video. And other than that, I've got some 8-foot fence gates that I need to make to put in these sections right here. So these these gates, they're going to be a wooden gate. They're going to be kind of similar to this one back there. There won't be as much wood in it. It's actually going to be where the whole center of it is filled with like a cattle panel instead, to keep the animals from going through. So it'll be a slightly different design, but similar. So we've got those gates to make. And then if the weather's real bad and I want to get out here and do something, I'll go back in the bottom of the barn and work in the stall area. So there's quite a bit I can do in there. I think I've got the posts that I can replace the posts in the bottom level. So I may have come back here and do some of the structural stuff, try to replace some of them posts and tear out some of that block wall that's in there. So I'll you know, it's a slow process. I need to have this done by spring so that I can have, you know, animals by then. But I think we'll get it done. Well, that wraps up this video. There'll be plenty of videos trying to get this old barn fixed up. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.